Bonjour, French students. Here is your Lesson 11 A and B teaching video, pages 162 to 167 in your textbook. S'il vous plaît, ouvrez vos livres à la page 162. Lesson 11, Le copain de Myriel. Nicolas and Jean-Claude are having lunch at the school cafeteria. Nicolas is looking at the students seated at the other end of their table. So this title means Myriel's friend. Regarde la fille là-bas. La fille blonde? Oui, qui est-ce? C'est Myriel Labbé. Elle est mignonne. Elle est aussi amusante, intelligente et sympathique. Est-ce qu'elle a un copain? Oui, elle a un copain. Il est sympathique? Oui, très sympathique. Et intelligent? Aussi. Dommage. Qui est-ce? C'est moi. Excuse-moi et félicitations. So, kind of working through the translation here, right? We have, look at the girl over there, the blonde girl. Yes, who is it? It's Myriel Labbé. She is cute. She is also fun, interesting, or intelligent, and nice. Does she have a boyfriend? Yes, she has a boyfriend. Is he nice? Yes, very nice. And smart? Also. Too bad. Who is it? It's me. Oh, excuse me and congratulations. Right, so it turns out that this boy is asking about this girl, and he's actually asking the girl's boyfriend. All right, let's look at the comprehension questions. Qui est-ce que Nicole regarde? Nicole regarde une fille. 2. Comment s'appelle la fille? Elle s'appelle Myriel Labbé. 3. Est-ce qu'elle est jolie? Oui, elle est jolie. Elle est mignonne. 4. Est-ce qu'elle a d'autres qualités? Oui, elle est amusante, intelligente et sympathique. 5. Est-ce qu'elle a un copain? Oui, elle a un copain. 6. Qui est le copain de Myriel? C'est Jean-Claude. Alright, nos cultures, l'amitié et la bande de copains, so friendship and the group of friends. French people believe in friendship, l'amitié, and family life and rank these values far above money, material comfort, and personal success. The friendships they establish at an early age tend to be durable. Since French people move much less frequently than Americans, and since distances are much smaller, they remain in close contact with their high school friends throughout their entire lives. French teenagers, like their American counterparts, are very sociable. They have a close-knit group of friends known as la bande de copains, with whom they share common interests. They go out together, especially to movies, concerts, and parties. This group may include classmates, cousins, other young people whom they have met during vacations, as well as the children of family friends. When young people invite their friends to the house, it is customary to introduce them to their parents. So just kind of explaining some information here about friendship and friends, okay, and making some comparisons and contrasts between French friendships and friends and American friendships and friends. So this lesson is about adjectives, and adjectives are describing words. We're going to be talking about describing words that describe nouns. So I'm going to read a little bit to you And the information where this is coming from will be posted in Google Classroom for you. But what is an adjective? An adjective is a word that describes a noun or a pronoun. There are different types of adjectives which are classified according to the way they describe a noun or pronoun. Descriptive adjective. A descriptive adjective indicates a quality. It tells what kind of noun it is. She read an interesting book. He has brown eyes. Interesting and brown are both descriptive adjectives. There's possessive adjectives. A possessive adjective shows possession. It tells whose noun it is. His book is lost. Our parents are away. His and our are possessive adjectives. There are interrogative adjectives. An interrogative adjective asks a question about a noun. What book is lost? Which parents did you speak to? What and which are interrogative adjectives. There are demonstrative adjectives. A demonstrative adjective points out a noun. This teacher is excellent. That question is very appropriate. This and that are demonstrative adjectives. In English, English adjectives usually do not change their form regardless of the noun or pronouns described. In French, the principal difference between English and French adjectives is that while in English adjectives do not change their form, in French adjectives change in order to agree in gender and number with the noun or pronoun they modify. Today we're going to be focusing on descriptive adjectives. So a descriptive adjective is a word that indicates a quality of a noun or pronoun. As the name implies, it describes the noun or pronoun. This book is interesting. Book is the noun described. Interesting is the descriptive adjective. A descriptive adjective does not change form regardless of the noun or pronoun it modifies in English. The students are intelligent. She is an intelligent person. The adjective intelligent is the same, although the persons described are different in number. Students is plural and person is singular. Okay. So that's what kind of happens in English. In French, as in English, descriptive adjectives can be identified as a couple different types. French descriptive adjectives differ in two important ways from English descriptive adjectives. Number one, while English descriptive adjectives never change form, all French descriptive adjectives change form in order to agree in gender and number with the noun or pronoun they modify. Most adjectives end in an E to the masculine form. To make the feminine form, you add an S to the masculine singular or the feminine singular form to make it plural. So that's what we're going to be talking about today is our adjectives and how to make them agree. So a difference here, and part of this is because in French, all nouns, right? Those are people, place, things, and ideas. All nouns are masculine or feminine. It's part of learning the vocabulary, right? Un soda, masculine. Un salade, feminine, right? So nouns in French are masculine and feminine, not just nouns that describe people, but all nouns. Because all nouns in French are masculine or feminine, so because nouns have gender, that means being masculine or feminine. Adjectives must agree with the noun they describe in gender. Again, that's masculine or feminine. And number, which is singular or plural. So we're going to make a little chart here. We have masculine, we have feminine, we have singular, and we have plural. Now, I'm going to put a little note here. This is the form that's found on a vocab list, a dictionary, the glossary of your book, etc. Okay, so this is always, you'll always be given the masculine singular form of an adjective. So the question is, what do I do to that masculine singular adjective to make it plural? Well, to make it plural, we're going to add an S. What do we do to this masculine singular adjective to make it feminine? We're going to add an E to it. And what do we do to this masculine singular adjective to make it feminine and plural? We're going to add an ES. Now, there are a couple little exceptions to this. Okay. First one is here. Okay. We always add an S except if the adjective already ends in S. Okay. And the example that we'll see of that, it'll be français. Français, masculine singular form, ends in an S. So we don't add an S to it to make it masculine and plural. It's just the masculine singular and the masculine plural are the same. The other exception, okay, is here. Okay. Except if the adjective already ends in E. Our example that we're going to see of that will be timide. Timide means shy. That's the masculine singular form. Because it already ends in an E, we don't add another E to it to make it feminine. So this is what we're going to be looking at today. I would encourage you to have something like to have this information down here, including these except things, written in some notes. So, taking a look at this as it's presented in your textbook. Les adjectifs masculin et féminin. Let's look at the learning about language box first. Adjectives are words that describe people, places, and things. In French, masculine adjectives are used with masculine nouns, and feminine adjectives are used with feminine nouns. This is called noun-adjective agreement. And again, this happens, okay, because our French nouns are masculine and feminine, so we have to make our adjectives match them. Compare the forms of the adjectives in heavy print as they describe masculine and feminine nouns. Again, we see this first column, these are masculine adjectives, and in our second column, we have the same adjectives describing something feminine. So we have le scooter est petit, la voiture est petite, Patrick est intelligent, Caroline est intelligente, l'ordinateur est moderne, la télé est moderne. So we have the scooter is small, the car is small, Patrick is smart, Caroline is smart. The computer is modern. The television is modern. So notice what happens right, to this masculine singular adjective when it becomes feminine and singular, right, we see that E. What happens to this masculine singular when it becomes feminine and singular? We add an E. Now, modern already ends in an E, and as we just kind of put in your notes, hopefully, right, it's the same both times because masculine and feminine, because it already ended in an E. So in written French, feminine adjectives are usually formed by taking the masculine adjective and adding an E to it to make it feminine. In written French, okay, or so that's just, again, that same thing. So we take, this is talking about what this part of this chart that we did, okay, where we take, and I'm just going to kind of put an X here for right now because that's the form we see, and to that we're going to add an E to make it feminine. If the masculine adjective ends in E, there is no change in the feminine form. So remember I mentioned timide would be an example. Jerome est timide, Juliette est timide. Timide is spelled the same way both times because it already ends in an E, so we don't add another E to make it feminine. Adjectives that follow the above pattern are called regular adjectives. Those that do not are called irregular adjectives. For example, so these are examples of irregular adjectives. Mark est beau, Sylvie est belle. So again, here's our masculine form of this adjective. Here's the feminine form of the same adjective, right? We didn't just add an E to it, so it's called an irregular adjective. Paul est Canadien, Marie est Canadienne. Again, here's our masculine form. Here's our feminine form. Again, we didn't just add an E. Now, this is pretty common. Notice we added an NE. French dictionaries list adjectives by their masculine forms. For irregular adjectives, the feminine form is indicated in parentheses. So what they're saying is, if you looked up beau in a dictionary, you would see beau, and then you would see the word belle in parentheses. Again, this is the masculine form, okay? And this will be in parentheses is the feminine form. Note de prononciation. If the masculine form of an adjective ends in a silent consonant, that consonant is pronounced in the feminine form. So what this is saying is that masculine and feminine adjectives sound different. They're pronounced differently, and so we have to be really careful when we're speaking because we don't want to be talking to a girl and use the masculine adjective, and we don't want to be talking to a boy and use the feminine adjective. If the masculine form of an adjective ends in a vowel or a pronounced consonant, the masculine and feminine forms sound the same. So this is saying there are some adjectives that sound the same, both masculine and feminine. So this next box is showing you some of these examples. Here are ones that sound different. And so we'd have to be careful which one we were using. We have petit, petite, blond, blonde, français, française. Again, this is your masculine form. These are the feminine forms of the same adjectives. Again, here we still have masculine and feminine, but notice, okay, they're not going to sound different. So we have timide, timide, jolie, jolie, espagnol, espagnol. So part of learning adjectives is learning which ones sound the same, masculine and feminine, and which ones sound different, masculine and feminine. So let's look at exercice 1, vive la différence. People can be friends and yet be quite different. Describe the girls named in parentheses, indicating that they are not like their friends. So our example, Jean-Paul est blond, Melanie. So Jean-Marc is blonde, so we want to say Melanie is not blonde. So notice, all we're doing in this, right, is this subject is changing to a new subject. The verb, right, we're adding a n and a pa around our verb. And then our adjective goes from being masculine to feminine. So I would like you to try these out loud. Numéro 1. Jean-Louis est blond. Carole n'est pas blonde. 2. Paul est petit. Muriel n'est pas petite. 3. Eric est beau. Bart n'est pas belle. 4. Jérôme est grand. Louise n'est pas grande. 4. Michel est riche. Émile n'est pas riche. 6. André est français. Lisa n'est pas française. 7. Antonio est espagnol. Céline n'est pas espagnole. 8. Bill est américain. Julie n'est pas américaine. So we have some adjectives here and what they mean. And then again, them in sentences showing us that masculine form versus that feminine form. Remember, these are irregular adjectives, while the rest of these are considered regular adjectives, meaning they follow that pattern where we're given the masculine singular. We add an E to it to make it feminine. We're going to add an S to it to make it plural. And we're going to add an ES to make it feminine and plural. S'il vous plaît, répétez. Amusant. Amusant. Il est amusant. Elle est amusante. Intelligent. Intelligent. Il est intelligent. Elle est intelligente. Intéressant. Intéressant. Il est intéressant. Elle est intéressante. Méchant. Méchant. Il n'est pas méchant. Elle n'est pas méchante. Bête. Bête. Il n'est pas bête. Elle n'est pas bête. Sympathique. Sympathique. Il est sympathique. Elle est sympathique. Timide. Timide. Il est timide. Elle n'est pas timide. Gentil. 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 Il est gentil. Elle est gentille. Mignon. Mignon. Mignonne. Mignonne. Il est mignon. Elle est mignonne. Sportif. Sportif. Sportive. Sportive. Il est sportif. Elle est sportive. And then we have a couple adverbs here so that you can say that somebody's not interesting, but rather interesting or very interesting. So, s'il vous plaît, répétez assez, assez, Nous sommes assez intelligents. Très. Très. Vous n'êtes pas très sportif. So again, these sentences are saying we are rather smart. You are not very athletic. Again, with these adjectives, you need to know the meaning of them. You need to be able to spell them. You need to be able to make them agree in gender and number with the noun they describe. B. Les adjectifs le pluriel. Compare the forms of the adjectives in heavy print as they describe singular and plural nouns. So the difference this time is between singular and plural. Paul est intelligent et timide. Paul et Eric sont intelligents et timides. Alice est intelligente et timide. Alice et Claire sont intelligentes et timides. So notice, again, as I described earlier, what we see happening is we're getting S's added to these adjectives to make them feminine. Or to make them plural, sorry. In written French, plural adjectives are usually formed as follows. We take the singular adjective and we add an S to make it plural. If the masculine singular adjective already ends in an S, there is no change in the plural form. Patrick est français. Patrick et Danielle sont français. So notice this français is spelled the same way both times, even though here we're talking about one person and here we're talking about two or more, so it's plural because français already ends in an S. But Anne est française. Anne et Alice sont françaises. So now because française ends in an E, we can add an S to make it feminine and plural. Note de prononciation, because the final S of plural adjectives is silent, singular and plural adjectives sound the same. So realistically, the only way you can tell the difference is when you see them written. So this is that summary. And again, remember, this is the form that we find in a dictionary or on our vocab list. Right? And this is saying that we add an S to this to make it masculine and plural. We add an E to this adjective, masculine singular, to make it feminine and singular. And we add an ES to make it feminine and plural. So look at exercice 5, une question de personnalité. Indicate whether or not the following people exhibit the personality traits in parentheses. These traits are given in the masculine singular form only. Make the necessary agreements. So in our example, we have Alice et Thérèse aiment parler en public. So Alice and Teresa like to speak in public. So are they shy? No. Now, these are both girls. So I have to make this adjective feminine and plural. So we have elles ne sont pas timides ending with the S to make it plural. So number 1, Claire et Valérie sont très populaires. Amusant. So Claire and Valerie are very popular. Elles sont amusantes. And I would add an ES to this to make it feminine and plural. Robert et Jean-Luc n'aiment pas danser. Timide. So Robert and Jean-Luc don't like to dance. So are they shy? Yeah. Ils sont timides. This timide would get an S added to it because there's two people here, Robert and Jean-Paul, so I have to make it masculine and plural. 3. Catherine et Martine aiment jouer au foot sportif. So Catherine and Martine, which are both girls, like to play soccer. So are they athletic? Yep. Now, the feminine, this is one where it's a completely different word. It's sportive to make it feminine, and we have to add an S. So, elles sont sportives. 4. Laure et Leah ont un A en français intelligent. So Laura and Leah have an A in French. Elles sont intelligentes. And I'd add an ES to this to make it feminine and plural. Saint Thomas et Vincent n'aiment pas le jogging. Sportif. Thomas and Vincent don't like to run. Ils ne sont pas sportifs. I would have to add an S to this to make it masculine and plural. Les voisins n'aiment pas parler avec nous. Sympathique. The neighbors don't like to speak with us. Ils ne sont pas sympathiques. And again, I'd add an S to sympathique because les voisins is masculine and plural, so I have to add an S to sympathique to make it plural. So, some more vocabulary, les adjectifs de nationalité. So, nationalities are adjectives. And these, some of them should look familiar because you've seen them previously. S'il vous plaît, répétez américain, mexicain, français, anglais, espagnol, suisse, Italien, Italienne, Canadien, Canadienne, Japonais, Chinois. Again, these are all the masculine, singular forms of these adjectives, right? To make American feminine, I'd add an E. If I wanted to make it plural, I'd add an S to make it feminine and plural, right? Mexican's going to get an E. E, E, E. Now, Suisse already ends in an E, so we don't do anything to it. And then remember, these are the feminine forms. But Japonais and Chinois would get an E as well to make them feminine. Words that describe nationality are adjectives that take adjective endings. Monsieur Katagiri est japonais. Kubi and Michiko sont japonaises. Now, even though I don't recognize these names, I should be able to tell something about these people. Notice japonaise ends in an ES. That means it is feminine and plural. So Kubi and Michiko are both girls' names. Expression pour la conversation, how to introduce a conclusion. Alors. S'il vous plaît, répétez alors. J'habite à Québec. Alors tu es Canadien. So you live in Quebec. So you are Canadian. And we can tell we're talking to a male person because that's the masculine form of Canadien. All right, let's look at exercise 7, les nationalités. Give the nationalities of the following people. Now, unfortunately, sometimes I've found that people don't know their geography very well. So Quebec is in Canada. Liverpool is in England. Madrid is in Spain. Acapulco is in Mexico. Tokyo is in Japan. Beijing is in China. Geneva is in Switzerland. And Paris, I hope you know, is in France. So, notice what I'm doing here. I have Sylvie et Maria sont de Rome. So they are from Rome, which is in Italy, which makes them Italian. So I have elles sont italiennes. Now, L, because this is multiple girls, right? So this is using the verb être, which means to be, right? And the forms of être are je suis, to a, il or elle or one person's name, a, nous sommes, vous êtes, and il, elle, pluriel, or multiple people's names, sont. So we're using the verb être, and then we're using these new adjectives here. Now again, remember, the form of the adjective that's in your book is the masculine singular form. You have to make the necessary agreements based on the subject of the sentence. So number 1, Lise et Nathalie étudient à Québec. So Lise and Natalie study in Quebec. So we want to say they are Canadian, and it's 2 girls. Elles sont canadiennes. 2. Michel et Denis sont de Liverpool. So Michael and Dennis are from Liverpool. It's 2 boys. Ils sont anglais. 3. Luis et Paco étudient à Madrid. Luis and Paco study in Madrid. That makes, so we want to say they are Spanish, and it's 2 boys. Ils sont espagnols. 4. Isabelle et Carmen travaillent à Acapulco. So Isabel and Carmen work in Acapulco. That's 2 girls. Elles sont mexicaines. Yoko et Kumi sont de Tokyo. So we want to say they, and it's 2 girls, are Japanese. Elles sont japonaises. 7. Jean-Pierre et Claude sont de Genève. Jean-Pierre and Claude are from Geneva. So we want to say they are Swiss, and it's 2 boys. Ils sont suisses. 8. Françoise et Sylvie travaillent à Paris. So Françoise and Sylvie work in Paris. So we want to say they are French, and it's 2 girls. Elles sont françaises. So your homework to kind of get you started practicing writing, okay, in French, these adjectives correctly. This first exercise, which we did out loud, right, and basically remember what we were doing in this exercise is what's in parentheses becomes the subject of our sentence. We're making the sentences negative, so we're adding ne and pas, and our adjective that was masculine here is going to become feminine here. So for number 1, we have Jean-Louis est blond, so we want to say Carol, and we could save ourselves a little writing and just say elle, okay? N'est pas blonde, ending in an E. So you're writing out those negative sentences for the 8 of those. Exercise 5, we also did this one out loud. Again, we were making our adjectives agree. This form that they've given us every time is our masculine and singular form. So we have to make sure it's agreeing with our subject of our sentence. So again, number 1, we have Claire et Valérie sont très populaires. So if they're very popular, are they fun or amusing? Yes. And these are 2 girls, so I'm going to say elles sont. And here's my masculine singular form of amusant, but because I'm talking about 2 girls, I need to add an E and an S. Some of these will be negative, and remember then we're going to add our ne and our pas around our verb if we need to. So you're writing out those 6 sentences for that exercise. Au revoir, à demain.